I don't find my wife attractive anymore. Those words may sound like a line from a sad film, but they are the real confession of a husband after more than 40 years of marriage. And he's not alone. Many older men quietly and painfully admit the same thing. They no longer feel connected. They no longer feel close. Some even feel irritation toward the woman they once adored. Does this mean love is gone forever? Or is there something deeper happening inside long marriages that no one talks about? Today we open a door to truths often left in silence. Welcome to Life in Words. Here we listen, we understand, and we help heal the hidden struggles of love after 60. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We read every single one. And if this subject touches your heart, please subscribe to our channel. Together we'll explore the emotional journeys that unfold in the later chapters of life. Stay with me until the end because the final part may hold the key to saving a marriage on the edge of silence. Now let's begin with the first reason husbands slowly grow distant from their wives as they get older. Reason 1. When physical attraction fades. The first reason many husbands begin to drift away from their wives in later years is simple, but deeply painful. Physical attraction starts to fade, not only toward their wives, but also within themselves. Robert, 72, once whispered, "I still love my wife, but I don't feel that closeness anymore, and I don't know how to tell her." His words carry a weight that many men quietly share. They don't hate their wives. They're not without love, but they struggle with the silent grief of aging bodies and fading desires. Biology plays a role here. For decades, many men have linked love with physical closeness, with touch, with intimacy. But as energy drops, as confidence declines, they feel less like the men they once were. That loss shakes them deeply, and instead of talking about it, they retreat. Most men were never taught how to share these fears. They weren't shown how to admit, "I don't feel strong anymore," or "I need closeness in a different way now." So silence grows, distance builds, not because love has vanished, but because the bridge that once connected them, desire, has weakened. This can leave wives confused. She may think, "He just doesn't care about me anymore." But often the truth is very different. He cares. He loves. He simply doesn't know how to show it without the spark he once relied on. Think of it this way. In the early days of marriage, attraction was the fire. It kept the nights warm. It kept the bond alive. But when that fire cools, if nothing replaces it, both partners can feel left in the dark. The danger is mistaking this fading attraction for the end of love. That's rarely true. What it signals is a turning point, a call to build something deeper, something not tied to youthful energy or appearances. Emotional intimacy, shared memories, mutual respect. These become the new pillars of closeness. When a spark fades, the warmth of kindness matters even more. When touch grows rare, a single glance of tenderness can carry more power than 1,000 kisses from long ago. And here's the good news. Attraction may fade, but connection can grow. Many couples rediscover intimacy in simple acts, a morning cup of tea together, holding hands on a quiet walk, or sharing a laugh that only they understand. This shift is not about giving up. It's about choosing to stay close in new ways. Because what men fear most is not losing desire, it's losing love. Have you ever felt yourself or your partner drifting into this kind of distance? If so, type the number 1 in the comments. That small step might begin a healing conversation. Remember, when attraction fades, it's not the end. It's an invitation to replace fire with light, to move from passion to presence, to let tenderness, not appearance, carry the bond forward. And this is only the beginning, because behind fading attraction, there are even deeper reasons why husbands grow silent as the years pass. Next, we'll step into the second reason, a struggle that doesn't begin in the body, but in the heart. Unresolved conflicts that slowly make men shut down. Reason 2, when unresolved conflicts make men shut down. The second reason husbands begin to dislike, or at least grow distant from their wives, is far less visible, but far more dangerous. It's the weight of unresolved conflicts. David, now 70, spent years with the woman he loved. Yet over time, small arguments, sharp words, and long silences began to pile up. He told a friend I just stopped responding. I didn't want another fight, so I kept it all inside. And that silence grew into distance. Many wives assume that men simply don't care. But the truth is often the opposite. Men hurt too. They just don't show it the same way. While some women express pain through tears or conversation, many men were raised in environments where expressing emotion was not taught or even discouraged. So when they feel criticized, they don't ask for understanding. When they feel disappointed, they don't explain. When they feel wounded, they retreat. At first, some may try to talk, but if they feel ignored or misunderstood, they begin to shut down, not because they have stopped loving, but because silence feels safer than risking more rejection. This silence, however, is not harmless. Psychologists call it emotional disconnection built in silence. It doesn't scream, it doesn't shout, but it eats away at closeness. A wife may think her husband is fine because he doesn't complain, yet that silence is often the loudest cry for help. Think of it like a wall being built brick by brick. Every small argument left unresolved adds another layer. Over the years, the wall grows so high that husband and wife no longer see each other clearly. They live together but feel alone. The tragedy is that most men don't even realize they're shutting down. They tell themselves it's better to stay quiet. At least we won't fight. But in protecting themselves, they also push their partners away. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to break the silence. Wives may misread it as coldness. Husbands may convince themselves they no longer care. Yet the truth is simple. The pain of not being heard is often stronger than anger. Have you ever seen a man slowly go quiet in his own home? Or have you felt the pain of not being heard yourself? If you have, type the number 2 in the comments. Sometimes even that small act of acknowledgement can help someone else feel seen. But silence doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning of something new if both partners recognize it for what it is. An invitation to speak gently, to listen more deeply, to replace walls with bridges. Because in the end, men don't withdraw because they hate their wives. They withdraw because they want peace but don't know how to ask for it. And if the silence isn't addressed, it leads to something even more painful. A life lived together but not truly connected. A slow drift into loneliness, even under the same roof. Which brings us to the next reason, the quietest one of all, the moment when familiarity itself, once a comfort, begins to turn into emotional loneliness. Reason 3, when familiarity turns into emotional loneliness. The third reason husbands begin to feel distant is not loud or dramatic. It doesn't arrive with shouting or sudden change. It creeps in slowly, almost unnoticed. It's when familiarity, once a comfort, becomes emotional loneliness. Paul 76 put it into words. We're still together, but I don't feel the need to talk anymore. Every day feels just like the one before. His words capture the quiet pain that many older couples face. They still share a home. They still sit at the same dinner table. They still ask the same questions, how was your day? But deep inside, they are no longer truly connected. The spark of closeness has faded into routine. In the early years, everything felt alive. A glance, a touch, a walk, hand in hand. Each small moment carried excitement. But over decades, responsibilities took over. Work, children, bills, obligations. Slowly, those small moments disappeared. At first, neither partner notices. But over time, the absence of closeness becomes heavy. Familiarity, instead of bringing comfort, begins to feel like a cage. Conversations stay shallow. Hugs fade away. Instead of living with each other, they simply live beside each other. For men, this disconnection is especially difficult to name. They often don't know how to say, I feel lonely. Instead, they stay longer in their rooms. They avoid eye contact. They bury their feelings in quiet habits. And wives, seeing only the surface, may believe everything is fine. But this silence has weight. It's not emptiness alone, it's confusion. Many men begin to mistake the absence of connection for the absence of love. They ask themselves, maybe I don't love her anymore. In truth, the love is still there, buried under years of silence. The danger of this stage is that it doesn't feel urgent. There are no big fights, no dramatic separations, just a slow drift. And one day the gap feels too wide to cross. But it doesn't have to end this way. Loneliness inside a marriage can be reversed. It begins with one conversation, a gentle touch, a look that says, "I still see you." These small gestures are powerful. They remind both partners that connection can be rebuilt even after decades together. Have you ever felt like you live with someone, but no longer feel truly close? Whether with a spouse, a parent, or even a lifelong friend, type the number 3 in the comments. Your simple response might help someone else feel less alone. Remember, loneliness doesn't always mean being physically alone. More often it means not feeling understood by the one sitting right beside you. And here lies the hope. Emotional closeness is not tied to youth. It doesn't fade because of age. It only fades when it's neglected. With care, with effort, with openness, two people can feel alive together again. But if this silence continues, something even deeper begins to grow. A storm not of routine, but of the soul. A moment when a husband not only questions his marriage, but questions himself. That is the fourth reason, the midlife crisis that reshapes how a man sees his life, his wife, and his future. Reason 4, the midlife crisis and the quiet storm within. The fourth reason many husbands begin to grow distant is something far more internal. It is not about their wives, it is about themselves. At a certain age, men are faced with a storm that cannot be ignored, the midlife crisis. Richard, 68, shared after retiring, "I thought all I needed was to work hard and take care of my family. But one morning I woke up feeling empty. I looked at my wife and wondered, is this really the life I chose?" This is not rare. It happens quietly in homes everywhere. A man stops not because his body slows down, but because his mind is full of questions. Have I lived enough? Did I miss something important? How much time do I really have left? These questions build slowly. A little regret, a little sadness, then confusion, and eventually it spills into marriage. The wife, often without knowing, becomes the symbol of everything he feels trapped by. Criticism rises, emotional distance grows, and sometimes the urge for change appears suddenly. New routines, new desires, new dreams. But the truth is, this is not about the wife at all. It is about the man confronting parts of himself he never had to face before. At this stage of life, the heart is full of conflict. He longs for stability, yet fears being stuck. He wants freedom, yet feels guilty for wanting more. He loves his wife, but he wonders if the life they built is enough. And if there is no open communication, no space to share these fears, the distance widens. Husbands grow quiet not because love is gone, but because they are fighting an inner war they do not know how to describe. This is where compassion matters most. The midlife crisis is not the end. It is a turning point. It is a signal that something inside is asking for change, not a new partner, not a new home, but a new way of living together. Think about it. When a husband begins to reflect on his life, he does not need judgment. He needs understanding. He needs space to speak without fear. And he needs reassurance that the marriage can still be a safe place for his heart. Have you ever seen someone close go through this kind of crisis, or perhaps you felt it yourself? The restless pull to question everything? If you have, type the number 4 in the comments. Your story might give courage to someone else. Because while the midlife crisis feels heavy, it can also bring renewal. When faced together, it can remind both husband and wife of their strength, their resilience, and the dreams they still hold. Yet if ignored, it can open another painful chapter. A chapter where differences in values and lifestyle begin to show, and two people who once walked side by side slowly realize they are moving in different directions. And that takes us to the fifth reason. When lifestyles and values no longer align and the quiet bond of marriage begins to unravel. Reason 5, when lifestyles and values no longer align. The fifth reason husbands grow distant may be the hardest to see because it doesn't arrive with shouting or anger. It happens quietly, like two roads slowly moving apart. It is when lifestyles and values no longer align. Charles, 73, confessed to his son, "I still love your mother, but whenever we talk, it feels like we're speaking different languages. The things I care about, she doesn't notice. And what she enjoys, I can't connect with anymore." This is not about dramatic fights. It's about small separations. Over time, couples realize they no longer live in the same world. The husband may want new experiences, travel, learning new hobbies. The wife may prefer familiar routines, quiet evenings, grandchildren, the comfort of home. At first, these differences seem small. He enjoys long morning walks. She prefers quiet reading. He dreams of exploring new places. She feels safest staying close. But slowly those differences add up. Conversations lose depth. Shared activities shrink. And inside, a painful thought grows. We just don't have anything to talk about anymore. From a psychological view, this is personal evolution. Both partners are changing, but not in the same direction. The man begins to feel lonely even while sitting beside the woman who once meant everything to him. And the danger here is subtle. Loneliness caused by differences feels confusing. He still respects her. He still loves her. Yet he no longer feels like himself when he is with her. And when you don't feel like yourself, how can you give love freely? This stage is often misunderstood. Many wives think he just doesn't care. Many husbands think maybe love has faded. But more often the truth is simple: they are not growing together. The solution is not to erase differences. It is to honor them, to listen more deeply, to find even the smallest bridge, sharing a meal, laughing at a memory, asking real questions. Because differences don't destroy love. Silence does. Think of it this way. Two trees can grow in different directions. Their branches may spread far apart. But if the roots stay connected, the bond holds strong. Marriage works the same way. Have you ever felt like you and your partner were growing in different directions? If you have, type the number 5 in the comments. Your words might help someone else feel less alone. This stage of life after 60 often brings the deepest questions. What do I still want to experience? What have I been putting off? These questions are natural. They don't mean the marriage is broken. They mean the marriage must adapt. Because when values shift, the only way to hold on is not to force each other into old roles. It is to listen, to honor, to walk forward not as the same person, but as two people still willing to share the journey. Yet if this space between lifestyles is ignored, another burden often steps in. A burden that is not emotional, but practical. And it can weigh heavier than any difference in values. That is financial stress and the deep identity loss that comes with retirement. Reason 6. When financial stress and retirement create distance. The 6th reason husbands slowly grow distant is tied not just to love, but to identity. It happens when financial stress and retirement change how a man sees himself. William, 71, carried the weight of providing for his family for over 40 years. He once said, "After I retired, I started to feel invisible. I wondered if I was still useful. If I couldn't earn money anymore, would my wife still respect me?" His words echo the hidden fears of many men. Retirement is supposed to bring peace. No more schedules, no more long commutes, no more endless work. But instead, it often brings a quiet emptiness, a question few men are prepared for. Who am I now? For decades, many husbands built their identity around work, around being providers, around protecting their families. And when the paycheck stops, so does that sense of certainty. Without realizing it, they feel smaller, weaker, less respected. Financial stress only deepens the wound. Rising medical bills, unexpected expenses, inflation eating away at savings. These pressures are not just numbers on a page. They feel like failures. They whisper, "You are not enough anymore." And most men don't talk about it. They don't want to worry their wives. They don't want to sound weak. So they stay silent. But silence again becomes distance. Imagine this moment. A wife asks gently, "How should we plan the budget this month?" To her, it's a practical question. To him, it feels like criticism. He hears you're not providing anymore. And so he pulls back. He stops engaging. He isolates. Psychologists call this a post-career identity crisis. When a man loses the role that once defined him, he begins to lose his sense of self. And unless there is emotional support, unless there is a safe space to admit these fears, the distance in marriage grows. This is one of the quiet tragedies of aging. The man who once carried the family proudly is now the one who needs reassurance. But he doesn't know how to ask for it. The truth is, what men need most in this stage is not more money. It's not a bigger savings account. It's the feeling that they still matter, that their presence still carries weight, that their wives still see them not as less but as whole. A kind word, a warm touch, a question like, "How are you really doing?" These small gestures can bring him back from silence. They can remind him that he is still worthy of respect, of closeness, of love. Have you ever noticed someone close withdraw after retirement? Or have you felt how money tension can quietly erode love? If so, type the number 6 in the comments. Your voice may help another couple feel understood for the first time. Financial stress is real, but it doesn't have to destroy connection. In fact, it can open the door to deeper trust if both partners are willing to face it together. Because when money worries and identity loss are left unspoken, they often lead to something even more painful. A silence not just in conversation, but in the most personal space of all, the bedroom. And that takes us to the 7th reason. When intimacy fades and a husband no longer feels desired by the woman he loves. Reason 7. When intimacy fades and a husband no longer feels desired. The 7th reason many husbands feel distant is one of the most personal and one of the hardest to admit. It is the slow fading of physical intimacy, not simply desire itself, but the feeling of being wanted. George 74 shared quietly, "I don't blame my wife. We're both getting older. But it's been so long since she touched me. No hug, no kiss, not even a gentle hand on my arm. I don't need much, just something to show I still matter to her." His words capture a sadness many older men carry in silence. Aging brings changes to the body. Hormones shift. Testosterone drops. Medications dull desire. Chronic illness adds aches and fatigue. Yet the deepest pain does not come from these physical changes. It comes from the sense of becoming invisible in the eyes of the woman they love. Each night he lies beside her, but there is no warmth, no closeness, no reminder that he is still seen as a man. Over time, the fear of rejection grows stronger than the longing for touch. So he stops reaching out. He avoids eye contact. He distracts himself. He even avoids bedtime. This is what psychologists call emotional self-protection. When someone fears rejection, they retreat first. When shame creeps in about an aging body, they hide. Wives often misinterpret this withdrawal. They assume their husbands are no longer interested in intimacy, but often the opposite is true. He still wants to be close. He just doesn't want to feel like a burden. He doesn't want to hear no, so he stops asking. And here lies the danger. Silence grows where closeness used to be. Distance deepens not because love is gone, but because fear has taken its place. Think of the power of one small gesture, a touch on the hand, a soft whisper. "You're still the man I love," a simple glance filled with tenderness. These are not grand actions, but they carry the weight of connection. They remind him he is still worthy, still wanted, still loved. Have you ever seen this in a marriage, or have you ever felt unnoticed yourself even while lying beside someone you love? If so, type the number 7 in the comments. Your honesty may help another person realize they are not alone. Because intimacy is not about youth. It is not about perfection. It is about closeness, about choosing to see each other with love even when the years have changed the body. And when couples rebuild intimacy, even in small ways, they rediscover something precious. That marriage is not about holding on to what once was. It is about creating warmth in the present moment. Yet when intimacy fades without renewal, marriages risk slipping into permanent silence. But here is the hope. Every couple has the chance to begin again. Even after decades, closeness can be reborn. And that brings us to the conclusion. A reminder that when husbands say they no longer like their wives, it does not always mean love is gone. More often, love is buried beneath time, stress, and silence. But with patience and courage, it can be uncovered again. Conclusion: love buried but not lost. When a husband says he no longer likes his wife, it doesn't always mean love is gone. More often, that love is still there, just buried under years of stress, quiet wounds, fading attraction, and long stretches of silence. Marriage psychologists remind us emotional distance in later life is not the end. It is a signal, a call to rebuild. At this stage of marriage, what matters most is not perfection, but patience. Not passion, but presence. A husband may be struggling with fear of being left behind, with the loss of identity after retirement, with the ache of a body that no longer feels the same. A wife may be trying her best yet unsure how to reach the heart that has closed itself off. Both are hurting, both are waiting, and both still carry the love that began it all. The good news is this happiness doesn't live only in the past or in some distant future. It lives in today, in the choice to care, to listen, to hold hands one more time. Even in the later chapters of life, you can begin again with a word, a glance, a single gentle gesture. If this video touched something inside, you share your story in the comments. How have your feelings changed over time in your marriage? What has been the hardest part for you? Your voice may help someone else find hope. And if you found this message meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe to Life in Words. Here we explore the emotions, the lessons, and the quiet strength that carry us through life after 60. Take care of each other, because love, even when buried, is always worth the effort.